Yeah. I mean, another good strategy would be to buy these cheap, these 2, 3 bedroom detached, or I mean, terraced houses or what have you, and do social housing, supported living. That's definitely on the increase, right?
And I think there's going to be a huge increase in that again in 2026, because with renters' rights being where they are, there are going to be more and more people pushed into the temporary sector.
Yeah.
There are going to be more and more people pushed into the social light support sort of sector one way or another. You know, governments have ways of making people fit into buckets even when they don't fit in those buckets.
Yeah.
So if the local authority can't house, ultimately they turn to the providers. Who do the providers turn to? They turn to the private sector to lease more property. So I think there'll be a major league increase in that this year, to
So
be honest.
majority
Yeah.
of your portfolio is presumably with supported living?
Not the
social
majority
housing?
yet.
Oh,
I mean, we
okay.
have a decent amount, about 30%. I haven't ever wanted to go over the 50% mark, but I'm rethinking that at the moment, to be honest with you. And especially if if you're geographically diversified like we are, if you can diversify on provider, you can diversify on exposure to council.
Spread your risk.
Yeah, I mean, we know LHA is frozen, so anything that's tagged to LHA, pegged to LHA, is just not going to work very well.
No.
But having said that, the providers know that, and they're not having those conversations around the LHA rate anymore. You know,
absolutely.
they're having them around market
different
rent.
bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're having to go after different funding. So whilst Labour can stand there and say we're not raising LHA because it goes to the evil landlords, people are ended up paying way more money.
Yeah,
Providers having to pay more money, and ultimately the government is funding that.
And what about like inflation? Because I think you mentioned in one of your supplements that Bank of England have predicted inflation is going to be around 2% by Q2.
I know, yeah.
The second quarter. I mean.
Yeah, it doesn't feel very long away, does it? I'm still sceptical on that front, to be honest with you, because I think we'll still see council tax rises be fairly significant.
Yeah.
Obviously, the government, what have they done? They've frozen train tickets, which is a big deal if you're a commuter. Doesn't really mean much to you if you're not a commuter. And the supposed 150 quid that will come off the energy bills by them sort of rejigging some of what they're doing. So we are seeing the government actually actively get involved with fiscal policy to try and bring inflation down, which is, I think, actually is quite sensible.
Right.
It does make sense, but I'm just not convinced the core inflation that's in there. We've still got minimum wage going up 4.2 in April.
So that's going to
There's
add
still
to the
pricing
inflation.
pressure. Even in December's numbers, December's PMIs, which were relatively positive, there was still high input cost inflation coming through. It's really hard not to. Companies are operating on more squeezed margins than they were in 2019. So they've got to pass through some of these costs. If minimum wage goes up 4.2 and you're in hospitality or whatever, add the pension, add the national insurance, and it's another 5% onto your wage costs.
So you're not buying it just yet.
Not,
but where
well,
do you think
if
we're
we
going to
hit
be?
2, I don't think we will hit 2 in Q2. But even if we did, I think we bounce back up. We don't come back down, because core inflation hasn't been below 3.2 since September 2021.
Wow.
So you need
So you
that
reckon
core.
it's probably going to be staying around that level?
Well, and the services inflation is still super high, still 4.7%. So it'd be incredible to see it ebb away